I believe there's nothing worse than a motivated idiot. So I want to get people educated. I want to get people inspired, get your finances right, and get your lifestyle in order.
Welcome to the Unstoppables. Yes, this is the network where we turn your intentions into results. Those activities you think about, we're going to get you off that couch. We're going to turn those thoughts and ideas into money. And today's guest is money. Her name is Sabrina Lloyd. Sabrina, welcome to the Unstoppables.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You know, sometimes we leave the best parts in the green room or the cutting room or off air. We had a great little talk before air, and I want to jump back on it. Now, why don't you tell people why I love you?
Well, I'm lovable, number one, but we have, when you first saw me, you were like, what is that? So you're observant. It's actually, I trademarked this, business warrior. I believe in business, you've got to go hard or you're going to die. It's kill or be killed. So that's why, I subscribe to a lot of war principles, apply it to business in order to win. And so when I opened up your book, you started off with the Rubicon and Caesar, how he had to cross over and go into that, point of no return. And that's really what it is. And then you boiled into commitment, which I love and absolutely 100% agree with. People fail just because of lack of commitment. Yes. The majority of time.
So I love Sabrina because she read my book. We like people who are like us, people we want to be like, or people who think like us. And Sabrina thinks like me. So you went right from like to love. Now, okay. There's a wall behind you. And doing my research, I saw all these plaques behind you. Tell me about the plaques.
Yeah, these are just, there's trophies there. And then there's, I have like my wall of awards. There's actually more. But, I wanted to look good too. So I was like, okay, we need another wall. I think when you come into your office, you should be surrounded by your achievements and accomplishments to remind you why you should keep going. Oh. And so these are things when you have people in your business too, they come into this office and they feel like, man, I'm being led by someone who wants to win and I can win too. So it's important to show your accomplishments. I believe in that.
Okay, here's where the show goes right to hell with a big handbasket. I love to be surrounded by my own greatness, so I'm just surrounded by mirrors. No, couldn't help it. This may not be appropriate at this time, but it is very different for me, and I'm talking about my experience, to hear a woman speak in terms of warrior.
Yes.
Really speaking. I lose a lot of people because that's my mentality, but you do it in terms of commitment. Tell me what commitment and warrior means to you and give me some background. Take me up 30,000 feet, bring me down to who Sabrina Lloyd is and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, so, I have this slogan of, people say warriors are made. I believe that we come out of the womb a warrior, and then life just somehow takes us and quiets us and makes us submissive. And all of a sudden, when we hear these things about being a warrior and the toughness that it takes, I know that the reality is that all of us know that it's true. Just some of us keep on suppressing it. So when I was raised, I'm obviously a female. Females are taught to be very different from a man. We're taught to be ultra respectful. We're taught to be prim and proper. We're taught to be polished, and I believe in those things. But I also know that I have to toughen up if I want to win in this battle. And that's something that I fell in love with. And I came to terms with it because it wasn't me saying I had to really be something else. It was me tapping into who I always was. And inside every human being, I know this to be true, man, woman, there is a warrior spirit. That's why when you hear people talk to you about being your best self, it resonates with everyone. That's what you do. That's what your book is about. This is what I do in my business, and this is what we're here to do. So when I started off, I was kind of that quieted version of myself. And when I came into this business, I had to learn from very tough men how to win, how to have conversations with the toughest guys, and how to be able to hold my own. And I was only able to do that by bringing my best self forth. You know, if I came in there shy, which I am, I have a science background. So my perfect world is me being by myself with a book. You know, I love to read. I am a student by nature. I was studying to be a doctor, and the reason why I wanted to be a doctor was to ultimately help people, to give them the necessary information to change and impact their life. And so when I came to the States to go to medical school, I need to make money because I had a falling out with my family. I was by myself. So, you know, those points where you feel very vulnerable and weak, and I needed to make money. And one thing that I knew is that people in sales make money. So I put my resume out for some sales positions. I got recruited by an insurance company, and I fell in love with sales. I rocked it my first year, and I was like, man, this is awesome. That whole concept of not being capped by your income and working in, you know, in a commission environment, it is ruthless. If you suck, your income will show you how bad you suck. So I had to get good really, really fast. And it was awesome. I made money, did well. Then I started to learn about leadership. And that's what really just helped me to multiply myself and my income by growing other people. So I switched from moving and working with products to people. And that's when my whole life just, you know, it went from good to great. And, you know, this is what I teach now. I teach my team how to be like leaders. I have a lot of people in the company reaching out to me on how to be a strong woman in leadership. You know, the truth is you need to be a great human being. Like, there are some strong women. There are some weak women. There are some strong men. I know a lot of weak men. So you just need to be really good at what you do. And that's like, that's going back to who you started off with. We have vulnerable points in our life. We all do, but never ever forget that you came out like fighting for your life. And that's what you have to keep on doing. Don't ever let that die out. Don't ever let that quiet out. And that's what being a business warrior allows me to do, is to tap into that warrior spirit that I've always had.
I'm going to play back what you just said because I'm going to and piecemeal it out there because I think you got some great points. You're echoing some Tim's story that life beats the shout out of you. You know, that's what he says. And you're reclaiming the self. You're not trying to be somebody else. Your fight is, let me be who I am.
Right.
Let me bring this out here and do this. And it's not a male-female thing. It's you earning and fighting for self-respect, because you're never going to get self-respect in the boardroom if you don't respect yourself.
Right.
If you come out there and will, and I know a lot of weak men too. I know a few strong women, and they're generally in corner offices. Right? But you know, they will wilt. They will fall down. They don't have the mental toughness to do what it takes. And people
Right.
will come in here, and you probably heard this a million times, and they're going to say, we'll do whatever it takes. Well, Sabrina, they want the sales income, but they don't know what it is. They don't know what it takes. And once they find out the cost, they're not willing to pay the price.
Right.
And I deal with it all my life. You said something else that resonates with me. When I stopped trying to push a product and understood that I was the product, everything changed. I met humans as humans. I knew I couldn't be for everyone, and I always showed up prepared for the unexpected. That's how I moved forward as a warrior. And I did what you do, collected allies. Got to have your advocates and allies, because you're going to have enough adversaries on your way forward.
Right.
I heard it. I heard a little bit of the A, because you are from Toronto, through
Yeah.
New York, and now you're one of my favorite cities. You're in Chicago, and when I come there, we're going to go to RPM, and we're going to meet Scott
For sure.
Steak, and we're going to have fun. And I'm going to learn a lot from you, so I'm going to bring a pen. Part of learning that you talked about is you're a student by nature. So
Yes.
tell me how important it is to always learn, and what it is and where you seek your knowledge.
So I'm an avid reader. But what I will say is that, you know, it's always been important to learn. But now in 2018 and beyond, I don't think there's any other more important skill set to have, because as things are rapidly changing and evolving, if you find yourself with the inability to, you know, learn, adapt, change, evolve, you're going to get left so far behind. And because business is ruthless, you're going to suffer in your income, which is going to trickle into your personal life. So I would tell everyone, if there's one thing, even if you're going to an interview for a position, that's what I look for when I'm hiring people. I'm not necessarily caring about what your specific skills are at your past job, because those could be irrelevant in 5 to 10 years. I want to know, like, when they rolled out a new program, were you the leader? When could you adapt to a new process? Could you be at the forefront of it? Could you take a process? Could you tweak it? Could you make it good? Could you still win and get results? So being a student to me is something that has come naturally. I grew up in a household where education was pushed on me. In fact, I think if I came into sales without an education, I don't think I would have done as well. A lot of people come into sales that are not educated, and I think I bring a different perspective, because I believe that if you can get an educated person to learn about sales, it's not, before people would go into sales when nothing else would work, right? Like, I did everything else. Okay, well, let me go into sales, right?
Yeah.
But now it's different. Imagine you're really good at what you do, and now you can get into sales, learn it, do very well, and then multiply your income. Man, that's phenomenal. And I know for me personally, I would not have been able to do well if I couldn't learn and study, not just through books, mainly through people and my leaders. So I always train people on our team. First and foremost, I can't work with you if you're not coachable. So what is your ability to learn from me? Because if you come in here and you think you know everything, you think you have all the answers, that actually just means to me that you have a wall up and you're not willing to learn new things. Yes. So learning from books, learning from people, and you've got to study trends. You've got to be able to anticipate the future. So that's what a business warrior does. They're playing to win right now, but they're also like 5-10 steps ahead of you. So as you're catching on to their game, they're already moving on to the next thing.
First business book I read when I was a kid was called Position to Win. And then I read Will by Gordon Liddy, and the marrying the two about anticipation is the key. We've got to be able to anticipate what's coming up, and we've got to be able to be flexible enough, because there's no plan. This is a military maxim. There's no plan that survives the first contact with the enemy, and there sure as shit isn't for the most part. There's no perfect proposal or approach we have that survives first contact with a customer. Everything freaking changes. Right. First checkbox for me is, are you coachable? Are you coachable? And I want to broaden the scope of education and share with you how it relates to me, and I think it relates to you this way as well. I know a lot about a little and a little about a lot, which enables me to connect with people from different parts of the country or the world. Different. Is that Steve Carlos calling? Because we could hang up on him. Different parts of the world, I can relate to people and share experiences, whether you're from Toronto. I can talk about the Raptors. I can talk about the art festival. I can talk with you about, I can talk to you about Chicago. But I have that type of education and experience, which is also street smart, marrying book smarts. So I think that's the key to connect with people, find their interest, let them talk about their interests, and broaden those interests, just like we're doing.
Yeah, I would say too, like what you said is so huge. A lot of women approach me and say, well, how do I do well? One of the things that you have to be able to learn from as a woman is you've got to learn from men. I've met some phenomenal men that are amazing in business. Men have been in business in the corporate world longer than women have. That's just a fact. So you're going to have to, learn. And one thing that's, very powerful when you're having conversations with men, they're not going to want to talk about makeup and like where you do your hair. They're going to want to talk about football. They're going to want to talk about cigars. I know good cigars. I know football. I know like the things that men talk about. I can have a conversation with them. Do I smoke cigars? No. Do I like watch football as much as them? No. But if I'm meeting someone, I want to know about it so I can carry those conversations with you. I think that's extremely important what you said there.
Because you're meeting them on their level, and people are interested if you're interested about them. Before they become interested in you, you better be interested in them. They love hearing the sound of their voice. They love hearing the sound of their name. You know what I've learned from women? I've learned a lot of things from women. I'll tell you what they tell me. They say, Bill, you can be really intimidating. I don't think I am, but you can't be demanding to whatever. You just show up and you're just, "Ugh," and you know, not everything you see because you're a hammer is a nail. Soften the approach. So sometimes I have to bring it down. And I've learned that I can't be the saber-toothed tiger ready to go. I gotta bring it down. So I learned that. Kelsey's a great example. She tells me when I get a little bit over my skis, and when I'm going too testosterone crazy, settle down. So I know that. But that's part of the thing that drives me is my nature. And so it's hard for me to overcome my nature. I can play with it, understand it, and work with it, but I can't change it. Inside of you, what is it in your nature that drives you?
You know, I wish I could say it's, I think I can pull from everything. Like you put me in a bad situation, I can pull something out of it to get me going. So, you know, I can have negativity drive me. I can have positivity drive me. I think a lot of people like to talk about perfect conditions, but that's just not how the world works. You know, like when you're in a really rough spot and someone says like, be positive, I'm telling you, I coach people, take that negativity and let it drive you. Because I know that energy is energy. Energy doesn't know if it's good energy or bad energy. It's just energy. Take it, use it, transform it. And so, you know, that's really what I've been able to do. I take anything that comes my way and I'm able to use it and then push it out in a better version. And
Probably the best take I've heard on energy in my life. That is one of the best takes I have heard on energy in my life.
Thank you. That's my science background kicking in. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It just transfers from one form to another. So when someone is giving you negativity, I'm telling you to take it. That is someone throwing energy your way. You know, don't shut that down. I'm like, swallow it up. I'm strong enough to deal with it. If you're not strong enough to deal with it, then be careful because that can kill you. And this is why you have to know yourself, right? I can feed off of that stuff. Some people will die as a result of that stuff. So this is why you have to know yourself and don't play games because you'll get killed in the process.
That's excellent. You know, the greats, are they working harder on themselves or in their business?
We are 100%, you and I just, we're working on ourselves, you know, and as a result of working on ourselves, it allows us to give more to our business, to the people that are around us. You know, I fell in love with this whole concept of self-development when I started in sales because I didn't know anything about it. When if I knew this stuff when I was in university studying to be a doctor, you know, maybe my life would have been in a different trajectory. But when I opened up this window of like how you can work on yourself and get better, this is what it became an obsession for me. Like every time, see, you just mentioned a book there. Like I've already mentally written that book that you mentioned. I'm going to get it and I'm going to read it because to me, this is where all of your power is. Like nobody is in control of what goes in here except you. And so like that to me is my most powerful edge that I have. And this is why I'm obsessed with learning, with making myself better. And when you lead people, that's ultimately what inspires them. You know, we can sit there and we can bark at people and tell them what to do. But if people see that you are relentless and you don't stop, and even when you win, you show up the next day and you're like, let's go. I don't want to hear it. Like, that literally makes people like chin check themselves and say like, man, like she's not messing around. Like I've got to go back to work. And so that becomes inspiring to the people that you're leading.
So what types of books do you read? And who are your authors? Who do you read from?
I read, you know, books on war, like I mentioned before, for, you know, just, I think it's where you're at. Sometimes people, you know, they need to read at the level that they're at. So I'm always a little bit, I don't like to just throw out books that I read right now, because I don't think that's what some people should be reading right now. Like if I give you a book on, you know, the principles of war, maybe you need to soften that approach, build up and understand why that stuff is true. So when I came into sales, I read a lot of the sales books, you know, and I'm sure you know them, the stuff with John Maxwell, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, you know, all these guys. it
Sure.
created a foundation for me. And then when you get into like really good people, people that think like off the wall, you know, one of them is like Seth Godin. He'll just write stuff that's like completely out there and get you to think differently. But the
Lynchpin.
problem,
Lynchpin
yeah,
is one of his books. Yeah, good book.
yeah, it's a really good book. If you read stuff though that teaches you to be different before you really understand who you are, that can be a problem. So I think what happens to a lot of, I don't like, I'm not putting down millennials or anything, but I see it's a valid problem. When people go and chase, you know, freedom, for instance, too soon, it can cause chaos in your life. And so we interview a lot of millennials and they're like, I want to have freedom. I want to like do my own thing. I want to be my own person. I want to, you know, I read a book that told me to stand out and be different. Well, the problem with that is you have no base. You have no routines. You haven't solidified your concepts, your habits, your principles. And so that's the importance of reading those like base books first to get you to understand those like rudimentary, simple things. So then you can be free and not be a danger to the society that you live in.
You're kicking ass. I need to take what you said and play it out for the millennials in here, because that's you're right. So many people morph into somebody they think they want to be before they find out who they are.
Right.
So they can read in different sources and think, and they're always looking and they're finding life passing by at 34, 35, 36, still trying to find that person in the latest book. Book's
Right.
not going to be the way to be. It gives me one or two examples of what I don't want to be or things that I could maybe embrace. So I'm open to embracing certain things. Other things I'll reject offhand. But from history, I can learn this. Napoleon with overstretch, where he overstretched his supply lines. Be very careful not to overstretch my cash. I can learn from Churchill. I think he was a savior of Western civilization. What did he do? How he stood forth. He was resolute. He was determined. He gave the Nazis the middle finger. Walk home to 10 Downing Street during air raids. You find out things like that. Muhammad Ali was one of my greatest in history. And I'll read and watch things about Muhammad, and I'll keep him here on my desk because he proclaimed he was the greatest of all time, and he had the talent to back it up. Because
100%.
ego without talent is known as hubris. That's arrogance, okay?
Yeah.
But ego with talent, man, that's confidence. You got to come out there and have that confidence, and that what you said is that edge, because people are going to buy from the messenger before they ever look to buy the message. What you're bringing out there with millennials, with people, and I don't even want to put them in segments, and what you can learn from history and pull from books and sources, and that's what I do. So we're very much compatible on that, and I'll ask you this question because you can help me. How do you cut through the noise, the bullshit, the posers, the effing wannabes on social media who are coming out there telling people how to do stuff, and they ain't never done nothing? I mean, does that not make the hackles stand up? Does that not make those do you just not want to like choke somebody out or what?
Yeah.
Really?
So you can tell from my eyes, right? They get bigger. I can't,
Yeah.
you know, it's really, this is what this did to the world, right? It just gave a microphone to anyone that has
Idiots.
a voice. Yeah. And you know, the problem is that the people that are searching the most are the most vulnerable. And so any information is not good information. And this is what really has to be taught to people. So I'm a really big believer in source, in, okay, well, why should I listen to you? And not in an arrogant way. You know, when I came into this business, I listened to my leaders and I didn't go up to them and say like, well, why should I listen to you? I scanned, I was observant. I saw that they were in a position that I wanted to be in. But not only that, like they took me to their homes. I saw their families. I saw like more in depth into who they are. When you see someone and you meet them for 30 seconds on a YouTube video, you don't really know where that person lives. They could be like saying like, I'm a CEO. Yeah, but you're broke and you live in your mom's basement. You know, like that is not a CEO that I want to learn from. So don't go title chasing. Don't go saying like that even matters. I'd rather you be a worker for a top-notch CEO doing better than just to claim like I'm empowered because I'm a CEO. So I am really big on time. You know, truth stands the test of time.
Yes.
So like when, you know, I'm not an overnight success. I have, you know, when you get into sales and you meet people that do well, I always say like 1 year in sales is like 10 years working somewhere else, because you literally have to plug in the hours. It's like you don't, there's no running away from the hard work that it takes. And so all that stuff like builds in you, builds in you, builds in you. And that allows you to speak from experience and to build up your credibility. So never just look at the face value of anything, like dig a little deeper, and then make sure that who you're talking to and who you're taking information from is really a credible source. Like, go deep.
It's called due diligence. And I think that it's a predatory nature on Instagram, Facebook, to the degree where people don't want to do the work. They're trying to find the 4-hour body. They're trying to find the 1-minute solution. They're trying to find the one thing to do.
Right.
And whoever gives them that recipe, they're going to try it. I've had Kelsey's laughing back here and giving me high fives, giving you high fives. A lot of this, because she knows those people who have come and said, can I sit in your Ferrari, take a picture, and then post it to show people how well I'm doing? And can I have this view from the house, or can I have this view in this? And I'm thinking, how could you ever live a life of being that disingenuous and trying to dupe the public into something you're not? But I mean, there is such a thing as act like a success, but I think you have to have a little bit of a base and a little bit of substance before you start moving forward. Always consider the source, and that is a great takeaway. Do your homework before you think to ever take the thoughts of another and then maybe take them serious. How do you separate yourself in your industry? Because you got a lot of people that are trying to do, but not probably what that wall has shown you to do. So how do you separate yourself?
So I think God in his humor put me together. So he like said, how can I make someone who looks like she's soft be the hardest person ever? And, how did he do this? I apologize for this.
It's okay. Somebody trying to give you an order. Go ahead and take it.
I think what happened was he really just said, I'm going to make you different. I'm going to give you what people label as disadvantages, all of them, and like see what you do with it. And that to me is like why I am different. That's why I know my voice. People can resonate with it. So, even what I love is that I can talk with men and have the best conversations with them. And then I can talk to women, have the best conversations with them. I can talk to young, I can talk to old, I can talk to, anything. It doesn't matter, because I feel like I've worn multiple hats. People don't want to understand this, but that's what it takes. I had to become a man in a man's, like in the business world. I can put that hat on and roll with the best of them. But at the same time too, I have awesome women leaders that are like phenomenal people, and I can talk to them too. So being a different voice, because I physically do look different, because I have those things, I think it's something that I've been blessed with. So now I can have my message be where all the power is inside of you. It's not really on the outside. But at the same time too, I'll tell you this, like the outside is an indication of what's going on the inside, So I believe you have to take care of your outsides. I believe you have to have it all together, So even though I'm in a man's world, I love being a woman. I love looking good. I love having nice things. So those are things that I don't shy away from either.
You can tell I feel good today is because I'm having a good hair day. Yeah. But that's how you know I feel good. You said something that is very closely aligned to another one of my thoughts, to something I've followed or tried to follow since I was very young, and that is to be true to yourself. You really have to be able to know thyself. That was Socrates at the Oracle of Delphi, know thyself. And then implicit in that statement is the obligation to be true to yourself. So Shakespeare took and purloined that thought. So know thyself first, which is a work in process, because we are changing. There are thoughts that come in. There are thoughts that we're changing all the time. People don't want to hear that because they fear change, they fear loss. But you got to know yourself at that particular point. Know yourself, and then be true to yourself. It sounds to me as if you know yourself and you own your shit. You own it. If it's shit, you call it that. You're calling it what it is. You're owning, you have personal responsibility. you got accountability, you got accountability at the point of contact. And if it's to be, it's up to you. You're taking that on. That's 99% difference right there than I think what everybody else does that I see. It's always somebody else's fault. The dog ate the homework. It wasn't me. I didn't get a fair shot. Bullshit. You lost.
Yeah, and I would say too, I surround myself with people that will chin check me too. I'm not around weak people. So I surround myself with some really strong people that if I'm going a little too far off, they'll be like, okay, let me just pull you back in here. And I think we all need that, so I know who I am too, but I'm also not afraid to still be coached at my level, but I'm very, very aware of who's talking to me. That whole thing with situational awareness, being aware of who's around me at all times, what's going in my mind. I am at the end of the day in 100% control of that. So even though I can learn from anyone and everything, what actually gets planted in there is completely on my terms now.
I think I have tremendous situational awareness. And I will say this, everything I say, it may come off as being what that crazy, but I'm using cognitive dissonance, aware of the intended result. And if the intended result doesn't hit home, I'm just going to change real quick. So I'm always aware of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. I'm never going to just start spilling stuff out there. And I think that ability to control yourself as a person, that's the huge thing, because Aristotle once said that the first victory is over the self, and that's the hardest one. And I always try to maintain that integrity of self before I give anything out. I'm very careful with that. And I have my chin person, and that's Kelsey. Although she seems like she's like you, not going to be mild, and she is tough on me. And when I go off, and she'll probably rip me on something on this show, but she will let me know. She lets me know in a nice way, but she lets me know. Your last name is Lloyd. So two things on this. Sabrina Lloyd, where do we find you? It's Lloyd. Where do we find Sabrina Lloyd?
That is correct. So on Instagram, I am Sabrina Lloyd. On Facebook, it's Sabrina Lloyd. And then my company, Lloyd Agencies, we're all over. We're on Instagram, Facebook. I've taken my name and I've created, because we do insurance. So Lloyd, I made it stand for something than just me, because I didn't want this business to be about me. So I made it be leaving a legacy of your dreams. And that made for people to understand, when you come in here, I'm going to go to work on your dreams. I'm going to want to know what are your dreams, and I'm going to push you like a mother to accomplish them. And, we also have it's called Lloyd Life. That's what we do. We teach people lifestyle, because I believe ultimately your lifestyle should improve where, as a benefit of your work. And so I believe in the I for inspiration. I believe to inspire people, not just motivate people, because that's something that is more internal as opposed to this superficial motivation stuff. And then the F is for finances. I believe people don't understand money. I believe that, it's just to teach people about that. And then the E is, what we've been talking about, education. I believe there's nothing worse than a motivated idiot. So I want to get people educated. I want to get people inspired, get your finances right, and get your lifestyle in order.
Nothing worse than a motivated idiot.
Oh my gosh, get out of the way.
Unless, of course, they're an unmotivated idiot. But no.
No, we want them. We want them unmotivated.
Yeah, we walk by them. They have signs up. Yeah. She's relentless. She understands that business is a battleground, and she is true to herself. She is Sabrina Lloyd, and she is fantastic. She's my host, but she's my guest on the Unstoppables. We'll cut that out. Don't worry. It'll sound like it never happened. Sabrina, how do you define success?
I define success as those actual following, those four things. Look at your lifestyle. People talk about success and they say it's money, it's this. It's not one thing. To me, success is a multiplier, right? So my money has to be good, because I don't want to be proclaiming that I'm successful and I can't pay for lunch. That's not the truth. Okay. The next thing is, family has to be right. So I'm a wife. So I put my husband before myself a lot of the times, because I believe in being a good wife. Not all the time. I'm not perfect. I'm not proclaiming to be that way, but he is a major part of my life. I married a strong man. I didn't marry a man that just allows me to, like, you know, do whatever I want. And, you know, I'm with a strong man. He's with a strong woman. So that to me is success, making this relationship work.
And that's one of those allies. The most crucial one is going to be at home.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And then, you know, success is now I'm a mother. I'm going to look at my children and say, like, if you do not become successful, then I may be successful now, but I'll feel like I failed if I didn't equip you to be able to handle yourself, to have the hunger, to have the drive, to want to do well and to do great things. And then I would also say my final layer is like my relationship with God. You know, I really, to me, if I'm a disappointment in his eyes, I failed in life. I didn't do well.
Well, you mentioned something that I embrace, and that's lifestyle options and what really income, what the purpose of the game is all about. So you have to understand the purpose of the game. And I think you can expand your income to increase your lifestyle options, or you can decrease your lifestyle options to fit the size of your income. You know, it's
we don't want to do that.
You know, and that's what people do, is compromise or think it's good enough or think they can sit on tomorrow's, you know, success for the next 10 years. You can't. Right. You know, you've got to always make those moves, as you said, anticipating not only tomorrow, but the next day, and making those moves like that Paladin chess knight, where you're 2 moves out and making all those funky moves. I knew I had to get my company logo in there somewhere. The other side of that coin, you know, it's a shiny coin of success when we're winning, but the other side is failure. 2 things here, Sabrina. What's your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
So failure is a weird topic with me because I'm not done. So how can you even say that I'm a failure? You know, I'm not dead. I'm still going. I'm still breathing. So like, you're talking about a moment in time. I've had moments in my life where I felt, you know, very vulnerable, and I had to sit down and say, like, what is really going on here? And what do I need to get as a lesson out of here to make my life stronger? You know, one of those major times was when I had a falling out with my parents, and it was a really, really rough time for me. And actually what saved me was work. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear this, but work is what will save a lot of people, you know, and people like to run away from work. But a lot of the times why people are falling into these like states of depression is like when you don't have something to give your all to, you know, it can't reciprocate itself back to you. It's just like a relationship. The reason why a relationship sucks is because you don't give all of yourself to it. And so those are times, in those moments of vulnerabilities, I went to work. I worked my butt off, and it actually turned around and like blessed me. So, you know, those moments, I would say like that was a strong one. Then I would have, you know, moments where I was at the top of my game and I got a lot of hate. I got a tremendous amount of hate. And the reason why it affected me for a moment is because I got it from people that I respected and admired. You know, these were once heroes to me. And so it hurt for a second. And it made me really sit down and reflect and say like, well, maybe I need to check why those were ever my heroes to begin with. And that's when I really just now, you know, those 2 things happened to me. And I'm like, I don't want to curse or anything, but I could really say, like,
you know, I do.
I'm like, the whole world can just like, there's nothing that can fucking stop me now. I'm just like, I can go because I just really know who I am right now. And, you know, I know what I'm capable of doing, and now I have to go do it.
You know, I'm very careful about who I put on a pantheon to say I look up to. I'm very, 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 very selective with that, because Michael Jordan once said, everyone loves you as you're growing that star, as you're becoming that success. And once you get there, they take great pride in trying to pull you down. You know, there's a German term for that. It's called Schadenfreude, where people take glee almost in other people's misfortune. And so I just think it's part of the nature of humans. It's part of human nature. And I'm very careful to divest myself of the emotional attachment to those people who would try to do those things with me and take me up and down on their own personal roller coaster, on their own personal journey through hell. Very careful of that. But that takes awareness and it takes time. And you had to go through the sting as well to learn, okay, what's happening right here.
Mm-hmm.
You also are in great company because the great ones on this show have the most difficult time trying to define failure. They just can't get it because it's part of the game of going forward. It's just what we do. Yeah, we get hit all the time with, I guess, setbacks, but it's just part of the game. So you're in great company there. In this one, I think you're going to be unique because it has to be all yours. What is your defining, one thing, you only get one. What is your defining moment? That thing that took you from where you were to the arc of where you are now.
I would say my defining moment was when we went to a company convention and I reached a level in the company that no woman has ever reached in the history of this company. I'm talking about years and years and years. And like being on that stage, it was about what I was representing. It wasn't even about myself. It was about like a battle that I feel like I won for so many people that told me it could never be done. Like when I started in this business, people would tell me like, you're a woman, you're never going to make it. Like all the things you hear. And just when I stood there and I collected that trophy, I knew I was collecting so much more than for myself. It was a message to the world that like, you can't stop greatness. Just get out of the way.
I love that one, by the way. You must love the section in my book about walkaway power, because I'm sure there has been instances in your career, they'll continue if you haven't experienced them, you will, where you've got to walk away from a bad position personally that could make you a lot of money financially. What do you think about walking away from those things and telling the audience and sharing stuff with the audience about, hey, there was times when there could have been some money on the table, there could have been some things that would have stretched my integrity, but you got to be able to walk away.
Yeah, I think this is where your ultimate power comes from, right? And it goes back to what we were talking about really knowing yourself, really knowing what you're capable of doing. So you don't have to feel like you are really needy or need this to get you to where you really want to be. So always look at something. And this is what great business minds have to do. They have to sit down, they have to look at something and say like, how will this help to propel me? But is this really the right thing that's going to move me forward? Or is it going to just inch me forward? Or if I did it this way, I could, move forward, yards and like go on even beyond that. So not just looking at it for an immediate gain, but what would be the 5-year, 10-year repercussion of this? Yes. And so a lot of people don't think that far out. And so in this world where we have to change, we have to adapt, we have to get it fast, because you can't be slow in this world. You will die. You will get crushed. You will get eaten alive. But you also have to have something in the back of your mind that's still playing a long-term game. So you can't do and make rash decisions. You can't take a quick and easy out. Like someone gives you a deal, you don't make every deal that comes your way, because it could give you a temporary gain, but cost you on your 10-year plan.
Boy, that's the truth. I could set you back 20 years. I'll say this, and I could get in trouble for this again, but I would ask for your opinion on this, because I've seen this in over 25 years of doing this business, that you can have the beautiful girl in the short skirts who shows up and has no substance, but sits there and tries to beguile the buyer, who will willingly play around and play along, probably around, to a certain point. At that point, you better have substance. I think it's more incumbent upon a woman to have even more substance, stand her ground firm, and not play that game and be taken seriously, as opposed to the ones who want to make that, hey, I got, this look, buy from me because I have this look and you're only selling sex. That, I just want your opinion on that.
Yeah, so if you could have,
that, don't you?
Yeah, if you could have beauty or brains, what would you have? I'm like, give me fucking both. Like, why do you have to have one or the other? Like, why? Number one, I want to look at it. I don't want to be like hard to stare at. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's like having honor with with your outsides, because it's an indication of what's going on the inside. I feel good inside, so I want to look good on the outside. But then my brain is the thing that is, my edge. That's not, I don't have, like, my outside doesn't do it. It's like an initial thing. But then when you get to know what's inside, that's what makes me even more beautiful. I hope, I think that's what it should be. When it's just like when you meet someone and they're really good at what they do, they start to look better, so I really think that you gotta work on the insides. You gotta work on your brain. Your brain is your powerhouse. And I will tell you this, your brain can make you more money, and then you can go get some plastic surgery and look even better.
I like the way you have a propensity toward the rational, and that's your science background. You are dangerous because for the most part, we are emotionally driven creatures, but you're able to take that scalpel and make it very rational decisions. That's a good one, actually. That's a way forward. I could stay here with you all day, but I want you to come back. But I want you to answer this question for me. First of all, I want people to know where they can find you. So bring that out one more time to me. Where can we find you?
For sure. So on Instagram, you can go to I am Sabrina Lloyd, LLOYD. Facebook, it's Sabrina Lloyd. You can also go to the company, which is at Lloyd Agencies. And then Facebook, it's Lloyd Agencies also. You can find us there.
Okay, you're writing your legacy every day. You're a big legacy person, so am I. I think the purpose of what I do now is to leave that legacy so others can grow, prosper from it, and we can make it maybe in our own way a contribution toward a better society. You're gone from this earth. You've been here for a long, long time, longer than the average, long time. But you want to write a paragraph so others could learn from, and they could shorten the distance from where they are now to where they are determined to go. Less blood, less pain. What would that one paragraph look like?
Check your environment. Get around the right people. If there's one thing that can accelerate your life, it is your environment, and it is the people that are around you that control your environment, which is your mind, more than anything else. And I don't even need to elaborate on that. That is just the simplicity of that is people can make or break you. Getting around, like when I have a conversation with you, I can pick up on your years of experience. And then now, like, this can add tremendous value to my life. And instead, like, of making a bad decision, you're in my head helping me. And like this conversation that we're having can help to propel me. That's what books do. It's like when you read about someone, you're putting them in your mind. So you're thinking like that person is now like helping you to push forward. So I am a big believer, get your environment right. When people are not doing well, I would do a 360 on their environment. And I bet you 100% of the time you'll find the culprit there. And that environment is soaking into them and it's, rotting them.
You want to know how much I learned from you? I learned a ton from you. I'm going to play this back and take notes.
Nice. Thanks.
One thing that's going to change my life forever, and I mean, it will change my life forever. Energy is energy. And I've always been putting it, it's been binary. It's either going to be positive or negative. Energy is energy. But be careful if you're not experienced, because you can take that on and mess yourself up if you got a negative, you're trying to turn it into a positive. Energy is energy. And I learned that from you. I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
I loved having you on the show. You have some great substance, great substance. As the wall behind you probably belies the amount of substance you really have in you. You are greatness. You have been unstoppable. You will continue to be so. I consider you a friend, Sabrina Lloyd. Thank you for being on the Unstoppable.
Thank you. I want to show you one last thing, okay?
More trophies.
Whoa. Let's see here.
You got more trophies, isn't it?
See, great minds think alike.
Lee,
I have a life-size version of him in my office.
Hey, I will tell you, he has been near and dear to my heart since I was a boy. My workout shirt today has Deer Lake, Pennsylvania, Muhammad Ali training camps. I always wear on my planes. I always wear a Muhammad Ali shirt. I'm just telling you, I'm a huge fan.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Be
It's
great.
been really good. Thank you for having me. I really
Great.
appreciate it.
Be great. Be great.
Yes. Soldier up. That's what it means. All right.